I'm sorry, State. Did not realize I was videoed off and muted. So I just called this docket, and so I've got plenty of people who are present, none that are ready in the courtroom. So we're going to move to Mr. Wood's cases, and I believe he's being brought into the meeting now. Mr. Wood, are you there? Good morning, Mr. Wood. Can you see and hear me okay?
I can, Judge. Good to see you. Like that beard, by the way.
Excellent. Hey, I appreciate that. Likewise. All right, let's see. We have a few of your clients that are here, and we have a few that are on Zoom, I believe. So I'm just going to go ahead and call you if you're ready.
I'm ready, Your Honor.
All right, let's go ahead with those that you have in the courtroom. Ms. Porter, if you'll make your way to the center podium, please. Sergeant Carter, will you do me a favor? Will you take that TV and just angle it this way so that they can see? Yes, sir. All right, this is cause number CR 1964, State versus Anitria Porter. We were set for plea today. However, Mr. Wood, you're unable to be here today. I understand that. Has the paperwork been negotiated and executed at this time? Or are you asking for the court to reset that for plea?
Judge, we have not had an opportunity to get with Ms. Porter to execute that plea. The plea is for probation. I think if we can get maybe to the end of January, we could probably have that executed, have those paperwork executed and get them to the court and get that done.
Is there any objection by the state?
No, Judge, we have the paperwork ready to go absent the plea date. That's the only thing we need to insert on that paperwork. So whatever works for Mr. Wood works for us.
Okay, I'm going to consult the calendar for the latter part of January. While I'm doing that, Mr. Wood, I want to advise you that your client is delinquent $540. She's made no payments while on pretrial release, and the pretrial release department is requesting that she report. And so, Ms. Porter, upon leaving here today, I want you to report to your pretrial release officer, Mr. Waddell here. You understand? All right, the court's going to set Ms. Porter for plea on Thursday, January 28th. That's going to be the contested docket date. So I have less cases set that day. So if we can get this plea paper picked up and executed by then Ms. Porter, when you come back on the 28th, we will plead you out and you'll meet with your probation officer that day. But today, I'm ordering you, upon leaving court, to report to the pretrial release department. You need to make sure that you discuss with them your delinquency and your payments and your failure to report. Those are things that may prevent, not prevent, but may the state may consider in whether or not they want to put you on community supervision. Because if your pretrial release is any indication of how you're going to do on probation, it's not looking good for you. You understand? If you're not going to report and you're not going to pay and do what you're told on pretrial, then putting you on probation is a waste of time. You understand? All right, the bailiff here is going to bring you a notice of appearance. You're going to sign that. It's going to have your new date. After you get that, then your want you to report back here through these doors. All right, bailiff's going to bring you this notice of appearance. You're to sign that, and you'll receive a copy. Mr. Wood, while Ms. Porter is signing her notice of appearance, the court on Bobby Faulkner has a note that Mr. Faulkner is in the Hutchins unit at TDC. Can you confirm that?
That's correct, Judge. That's my understanding. He had a case, I believe it was at a Hopkins County, that he got sentenced on. I think Mr. Woodwike and I were working on that case for a while, and then it kind of got just things happened, and my hope is to get something to run concurrently with that case over there, and we can maybe either bench him back or figure out some sort of disposition relatively quickly.
He's not set to be paroled or released at any time soon.
I don't think so, Your Honor. I don't have that in front of me when his release date is.
I'm going to set Mr. Faulkner then for a custody status on. Are you available on February 23rd, Mr. Wood?
Judge, probably not. I think that's when we're around the time we're going to Pennsylvania. That's enough. I mean, if it could be set either late January or early March, maybe we could, or sometime in March probably be better. Late January might be better, Judge, honestly.
Well, court's full in late January already, so we'll set this for Tuesday, March 9th.
Okay.
That'll work?
That'll work, I think.
Judge, for the court's information, I'm showing that Mr. Faulkner is projected to be released in November.
Okay. So we'll set it in March. Maybe that'll give each of you time to work together to see if we can resolve the case and having pled out without having to bench warrant him back.
Absolutely.
All right, I believe that's all of your clients that are in the courtroom. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't find Mr. Kyle Connor. Mr. Wood, is this your client, Mr. Kyle Connor?
It is, Your Honor.
Appears Mr. Connor is trying to connect to audio. We'll have to wait, see what happens there.
There we go.
All right, good morning, Mr. Connor. Can you see and hear the court?
Yes, sir.
Can you see your attorney, Mr. Wood?
No, I can't. I did.
You may have to move left or right on your phone. All right, this is cause number CR 2109, State versus Kyle Stephen Connor. We're set for pretrial today. Mr. Wood, are any contested pretrial motions?
Judge, we aren't needing any contested pretrial motions on Mr. Connor's case. It's our understanding we're going to hopefully resolve this case and dispose of it after the co-defendant resolves her matter. I think she said on January the 12th. So if we can just set this anytime after that, I think we can have something worked out.
Are you available? You said what time did you say you're going to be leaving the state, Mr. Wood?
It's going to be February I believe 12th through out of maybe 10 to 12 days. So through the February, I would say 27th or so, 22nd.
All right, well, let's set Mr. Connor then for January 28th, since you're planning on being here on Ms. Porter. Does that sound sufficient to you, Mr. Wood?
Absolutely, Judge. That'll work. Perfect.
All right, I'm going to set it for docket call on that date, and if Mr. Connor wants to resolve his case that day, then as long as the plea papers are ready, we'll be able to plead Connor. So, Mr. Connor, you're receiving notice here in open court that you're ordered to appear on January 28th. If you're going to resolve your case that day, you will appear in person. If you're not going to resolve your case that day, then you are to contact your attorney for information on how to appear via Zoom. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And that will be the only notice that you receive from the court. All right, so we'll see you back on January 28th, and contact Mr. Wood if you have further questions on how to appear. And Mr. Wood,
Yes,
as I said, if Mr. Connor is going to resolve his case that day by plea, then you'll alert my court coordinator. We'll conduct an in-person proceeding on that day to get a fingerprint. And if we're not going to resolve it, then he's to appear via Zoom. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Connor, you're free to go.
Thank you.
Hang on. Before you go, Mr. Connor, I'm sorry. Mr. Wood, Mr. Connor does need to sign his trial release supervision paperwork. So, Mr. Connor, I'm going to order you to report to the Van Zandt County Community Supervision and Corrections Department by Monday before 4:30. Before 4:30, meet over there, and they're going to give you some paperwork for you to sign. You understand?
Okay. And what's it for?
Pre-trial release. The court has ordered pre-trial release conditions while you're on
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And Mr. Wood can give you
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
And Judge,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, I've been texting Diana with my office. Apparently, he's having some issues with his Wi-Fi. I can make an announcement to the court, though, regarding that case, but he's at work currently, and apparently he doesn't have any Wi-Fi there where he's at. He said he could go home, but it would take about 30 minutes for him to get home, etc. So,
All right. This is cause number CR 2197, State versus Chad Darvin Thomas. State, is there any objection to Mr. Thomas not appearing via Zoom?
No, Your Honor.
All right. What's the announcement as to pre-trial, Mr. Wood?
Judge, we don't have any pre-trial at this point. I've got the discovery, have not had an opportunity to go over it with Mr. Thomas. I anticipate hopefully being able to do that in couple weeks, maybe. And then I think based on what I've initially looked at, I think I can get Mr. Woodwike and I that we can probably come up with something and resolve the case relatively quickly too.
All right. To give you more time, the court would set this for docket call on February 9th. Would that be a few days before you leave? Would that work for you?
Yeah, I think that'll work, Judge. And if it's not going to work, I'll let the court know well beforehand.
All right. Court has set Mr. Thomas in for docket call on February 9th. And Mr. Wood, if you give him notice of that, his failure to appear, as you know, may result in the court issuing a warrant for his arrest. And that day he would appear via Zoom unless he's going to resolve this case.
Okay.
All right. so that leaves, I believe that's all you have this morning. Is there anyone that you're aware of that we have not dealt with? Mr.
I think that's it, Judge. I know that we had Brett Turnage. I might have been said. I think he's waiting for a bed.
Yeah, that's afternoon, the 1:30.
Okay. Okay. Do I still need to appear for that 1:30 docket, Judge? Or can we resolve those today?
Yes, sir, if you can, just so we can have announcements so Mr. Turnage knows that he's coming to court and the court's addressing his case.
Okay.
And I believe that there's been some other individuals added to the docket that were sitting out there that needed hearings. Mr. Bruner, I believe, maybe one. J. Michael Bruner for docket call, Brett Turnage for pretrial. So those are the two individuals that I'll have before me this afternoon.
Okay, Judge. That's at 1:30.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it'll be this. I believe it'll be. So I'll get you the different Zoom number. If there is one. Yes, we do have a different Zoom number. Do you have something to write with, and I'll give it to you?
Judge, I can text that to Mr. Wood so we don't need to go over that.
All right, good.
Yeah, that's fine. That'll work. That'll work perfectly.
All right, good. We'll see you this afternoon.
Okay, Judge. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. All right, Mr. Abdul Dayon, if you'll come to the center podium, please. Mr. Knoll, are you ready for plea? Oh, these have not been taken to the clerk, Mr. Knoll. These have not been sworn to. Go ahead and have a seat. We'll recall your case again. Do we have any other counsel present in the courtroom with defendants in the courtroom that are ready?
Yes,
Go ahead, Ms. Thompson.
I have Rachel Don over here.
Ms. Donahoe, if you'll make your way to the middle podium, please. This is CR 20-242-243, State versus Rachel Charis Donahoe. And I show that we're set for plea today.
Yes, we are, but the state isn't here to get the paperwork signed, and I wasn't able to get with the defendant until today. Everything's signed except where the state needs to sign off.
So we could do it today if it gets signed.
Judge, we have emailed Miss Thompson the signed paperwork from the state. I don't know if she has capability. I can also email it to the district clerk to ask them to print it.
So the paperwork you have now is not signed by the state?
It's not signed by the state, it's signed by the defendant and myself.
Okay, but you said you sent her signed by the state?
Yes, Your Honor.
So where is that?
Judge, it was sent just earlier this morning. Miss Thompson was probably in transit when it was sent.
Okay, all right. If you wouldn't mind sending that to the clerk, then we'll recall the case and give her an opportunity to sign, and that way we can resolve the case.
Yes, sir, no problem.
Do you have anyone else that's present and ready?
I haven't been able to check yet. I've been with her.
Mr. Manning, are you ready? Are you ready, Mr. Manning? Ms. Alamka, you'll come to the center podium, please. CR 20-165. Show we're set for a docket call today.
Yes, Judge, we're not ready at this point in time and ask for a reset of the docket call setting.
And what's the purpose for not ready?
Judge, last time that Ms. Malamka was here, she was taken into custody. We were unable to meet to go over the things that she wanted to discuss with me for final negotiations. We'd like additional time for negotiations in this case.
Any objection by the state?
No, Your Honor.
Do you already have a notice of setting?
Yes, sir.
How much time are you requesting, Mr. Manning?
Just standard reset.
1 day? That's the court's standard reset, 1 day.
I'm sure the court would appreciate having a standard reset that short, but I believe I'm on the March 3rd. March 3rd was the date I was given previously.
Not likely. It's in March, it'd be March 9th, March 11th. We also have February 9th,
March 9th.
March 9th. All right, court will set Ms. Halamka for docket call on March 9th. And Mr. Manning, Ms. Halamka on that day will need to appear via Zoom unless she's going to resolve her case.
Yes, Judge.
Ms. Halamka is delinquent $240 in her pretrial release financial obligation.
I've spoken to her about that, and she plans on making a payment on that.
When?
I will.
As soon as you leave? And how much are you going to pay?
I'm not sure.
Hang on, say that again. You have to discuss it with who?
My father.
You're $240 delinquent, and that's a reflection on you, just so that you know.
I do.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Manning, if you'll have her sign the notice of appearance, and then you're ordered to report to pretrial release immediately upon leaving court today. Is that all you have this morning, Mr. Manning?
In person, I was appointed on Miss Stevenson. I believe she's supposed to be online.
All right, Ms. Halamka, you're free to go. Report to pretrial release. Good morning, Ms. Stevenson. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you see and hear Mr. Manning?
I'm Miss Stevenson.
I don't see him.
All right. He's probably, you have to swipe left or right on your phone if you want to see him. I'm going to go
Okay, I got you.
I'm going to go ahead and call your case, Ms. Stevenson. CR 2311, State versus Tiffany Lee Stevenson. As you can see that we're set for arraignment today. The record will reflect that Ms. Stevenson requested court-appointed counsel. The court approved the application and appointed the Honorable Jonathan Manning. Mr. Manning, have you had an opportunity to review the indictment with your client?
I have not, Judge.
Ms. Stevenson, can you see the document that's on your screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, I want you to take a moment and I want you to read that document. Stevenson, let me know when you've had enough time.
Yes, sir. I've read it now.
Okay. Ms. Stevenson, is your name spelled correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right, and it appears that you have been charged with the offense of theft of property greater than or equal to $2,500 but less than $30,000, which is a state jail felony. The state has also included an enhancement paragraph in the indictment, which, if proven to be true, would enhance your punishment range to that of a third-degree felony, which would carry a range of punishment of not less than 2 years or more than 10 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division, and a fine not to exceed $10,000. Having read the indictment, do you understand what you're being accused of?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand the range of punishment?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Manning, how does your client wish to enter a plea at this time?
At this time, Judge, she believes not guilty.
All right, the court will enter Ms. Stevenson's plea of not guilty into the record. We will set this for a pretrial hearing on March 9th. And Ms. Stevenson will appear via Zoom on that date unless otherwise directed by the court. And Ms. Stevenson, you can contact Mr. Manning for the information that you need to appear via Zoom on March 9th. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what's the date that you're going to appear via Zoom?
March 9th.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Manning?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stevenson. You're free to go.
Thank you.
My business may be excused.
Yes, sir, thank you. Mr. White, do you have someone that's in the court ready?
Everybody has that.
Are they all in court? He's got one. All right, you ready, Mr. White?
Yes, sir.
And who are you ready on first?
We called Mr. Mahoney, Your Honor.
Simon Lee Mahoney. To the center podium, please, sir. This is cause numbers CR 2296 and CR 2297. Show Mr. Mahoney is set for pretrial today.
Yes, sir. At this time, we don't have any contested pretrial. Our understanding is we'll operate under the court's standing order as far as discovery goes. We'd ask the court to place this on the docket call.
All right, the court will set Mr. Mahoney then for docket call on February 9th. That will be at 9 a.m. And Mr. Mahoney will appear via Zoom that day unless otherwise instructed by the court. If Mr. Mahoney wishes to resolve his case that day, Mr. White, if you'll just contact the court, and we'll make arrangements for an in-person proceeding.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mahoney, after you leave today, I need you to report to pretrial release so that you can sign your pretrial release conditions. Are you ready, Mr. Kohler, Mr. White?
Yes, sir.
CR 2172, State versus Dylan Kohler. Mr. Kohler set for pretrial today.
That's correct, Your Honor. Same announcement. We don't have any contested motions at this time. Understand that we're abiding by the court's standing pretrial order. And we'd ask the court to set for docket call.
Docket call set on February 9th at 9 a.m. And Mr. Kohler's to appear via Zoom unless otherwise directed by the court. Please make sure that your mask covers both your nose and your mouth, please. Otherwise, there's no sense in wearing a mask. Mr. White.
Your Honor, what was the cause number on Mr. Cole?
CR 20172. All right, you're free to go, Mr. Kohler. Colton Green, CR 20303. All right, Mr. Green, set for pre-trial today, Mr. White.
Yes, sir. At this time, we don't have any contested motions. I ask the court to set for docket call.
All right, court sets Mr. Green for docket call on February 9th. And same announcement, Mr. Green to appear via Zoom unless otherwise directed by the court. If he's going to resolve his case, you'll let us know, Mr. White, and we'll make arrangements for him to appear in person.
Yes, sir.
Mr. White, while Mr. Green is doing that, the court has signed conditions of pretrial release for Mr. Green. Have them report to the pretrial release department. Yes, you can come on back.
Cool.
All right, Mr. White, I'm going to try to bring in Mr. Joel Downs.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Downs. Can you see and hear me okay?
Sorry, I couldn't figure out the unmute.
It's okay. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Can you see and hear Mr. White? He's present here in the courtroom. Mr. White, can you raise your hand?
No.
Okay, you may have to, if you're on
Oh,
your
there he is. Okay, I see him.
Okay.
I see him.
All right. Court call CR 2210, State versus Joel Hinton Downs. Court had Mr. Downs set for attorney status today. And Mr. White, you've entered an appearance of record for Mr. Downs, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. We were just hired yesterday, so I have not had a chance to review anything, obviously.
Okay. Court will set Mr. Downs in for pretrial on February 9th at 9 a.m. And Mr. Downs, you will appear via Zoom again unless otherwise directed by the court through your attorney. So that's...
I'm sorry, you broke up the last second there.
Yeah, February 9th,
You broke up the last.
Yeah, you will appear February 9th via Zoom again, unless otherwise directed by the court through your attorney. You understand?
Zoom again?
Zoom again, yes,
It'll
sir.
be on Zoom?
Unless your attorney
Sir,
tells you otherwise.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Downs, we'll see you again on February 9th.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Judge, the clerk has let the state know that they have already certified both Ms. Donahoe's plea and Mr. Knoll's client's plea without the state's signature on them. Would it please the court for either the defense attorneys to sign on the state's behalf with permission, or Mr. Woodwhite to come sign those after the docket is concluded in the clerk's office?
What does the state prefer? Do you want to give counsel your permission to sign?
I think that's really up to Mr. Woodwhite. I'm under the weather, so I'm not available to come sign. But I don't think either one of us oppose defense counsel signing with permission.
That's correct, Your Honor. I'm comfortable with either, but I believe if we have them sign on the record for us, that will be sufficient.
Mr. White, I do not see Mr. Romero online. It could be that he didn't enter his name in. I'm just looking at a device. I don't know.
Okay, Your Honor, I will.
If you can find out how he's logged in, I have a Madrid. I have a couple numbers.
It's going to be Madrid.
Madrid.
Yes.
That's one of the difficulties is when people sign in, they oftentimes don't put their name in. Is this Mr. Romero?
Yes, this is him.
Mr. Romero, the next time that you appear in court, what I want you to do is before you log in, is it asks you for your name. I want you to put your first and last name so that when you log in to the online courtroom, I can see who you are, okay?
Yes, sir. Do I just do that with the little message box?
Yes, right when you get into your Zoom app, when you sign in or join a meeting, it'll ask you before you put the number in to name your device. And then you'll just put your name in there. And that way I'll know when you're in the waiting room who you are, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is CR 2309, State versus Gabriel Thomas Romero. We're set for pretrial today, Mr. White.
Your Honor, at this time, we don't have any contested motions. Ask the court to set for docket call.
I would set again on February 9th, unless looking at the charge here, I didn't know if you needed more time. All right, court sets Mr. Romero for docket call on February 9th. And Mr. Romero, you will appear via Zoom again, unless you're instructed differently by either the court or Mr. White. You understand?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Romero, the court has signed conditions of pretrial release. That means that the bail that you posted in this case is going to be conditioned upon you satisfying certain things for the court. You're going to have to report. You're going to have to see your supervision officer. You're going to have to pay towards that. You're going to have to UA drug test if they ask you to. So we're going to give you this paperwork, but you need to report to the Van Zandt County Community Supervisions Department, which is in Canton. And you need to do so before Monday at 4:30. They're closed tomorrow. You do it before 4:30 today, or you can do it before 4:30 on Monday.
Could I just make a phone call up there? Do I have to go up there in person?
You'll need to go up there in person.
Your Honor, Mr. Romero lives
He lives in New Mexico or Mexico?
in New Mexico.
New Mexico. Do you have an email, Mr. Romero?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I want you to give that to Mr. White's office, and then Mr. White's office will provide that to the pretrial release department, and they will make an arrangement with you, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you for that heads up, Mr. White. All right, Mr. Romero, we'll see you back on Zoom on February 9th, unless Mr. White tells you otherwise.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. White, does that conclude all of your,
I believe so, Your Honor.
let's see, anyone else for you? All right, do you have any on this afternoon's docket, Mr. White?
I do not believe so, Your Honor.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to call Mr. Harrison's case next. I've been given a message that he's requested to be called for appearance in another court. morning, Mr. Cruz. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, I'm trying to find your attorney here. Mr. Cruz, I don't see Mr. Files or Mr. Harrison logged in. I had a note that they were due in federal court at 10, and I don't see them logged in. So I'm going to put you back in the waiting room until I can find them. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Gimbel, are you ready? Yes, I am. You're ready on Ms. Jones? Jasmine Jones, if you'll make your way to the center podium, please. Must be, I don't see Ms. Jones on my docket, but it is CR 20256.
Your Honor, I did not see her name this morning as well, and I checked with Ms. Taberham, and she checked online, and she is set at the 9 o'clock docket this morning.
Yeah, it's just not pulling on our docket for whatever reason, but it's okay. Ms. Jones, if you will raise your right hand, I will place you under oath. Ms. Jones, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can put your hand down. All right, Ms. Jones, are you a United States citizen?
Yes.
Do you read, write, and speak English?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been diagnosed with any type of mental conditions?
Yes, sir.
What have you been diagnosed with?
Major depression and anxiety.
Did you get that? And Ms. Jones, are you currently on any medication for that diagnosis?
Yes, sir.
And do you feel like you have clarity of thought and mind today?
Yes.
You feel like you understand everything that's gone on in this proceeding today and the
Yes, sir.
proceedings before this?
Yes, I do.
All right, and you are represented by your attorney, Mr. Brent Gimbel. Are you pleased with his representation of you?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like you've had enough time to talk with him about your case and have all of your legal questions answered?
Yes.
Is there anything about this case and the paperwork that you signed today that you do not understand?
No, sir.
All right, and Mr. Gimbel, do you believe Ms. Jones to be competent today?
I believe she is, Your Honor.
And have you explained to her her legal and constitutional rights?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
And did you also explain to her the advantages and disadvantages of a deferred adjudication plea?
I believe she understands that.
All right, Ms. Jones, it appears that you have been charged by indictment with the state jail felony offense of possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1, less than 1 gram. State jail felony offense carries a range of punishment of not less than 6 months or more than 2 years confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice State Jail Division, and a fine not to exceed $10,000. Do you understand that range of punishment?
Yes, sir.
You understand if I approve the plea agreement in this case, upon your plea of guilty, the court would defer a finding of guilt and that means the court would not convict you today. Rather, the court would place you on probation or community supervision for 2 years and assess a $1,500 fine, $180 restitution, and you would also have to pay your court costs and reimbursement fees to the county. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that if the court approves this and places you on that probation, that if you violate any term of your probation, that the state could file a motion to bring you back before the court, and if the court finds that you violated your probation, the court could revoke your community supervision, could convict you of this offense, and could put you in prison up to 2 years.
Yes, sir.
And this is the agreement you're wanting me to approve today.
Yes, sir.
Miss, yes, ma'am. Is his name, is he logged in under his name? I don't see his name. I'm telling you not to put his name in there because I can't see him. Just one moment, Ms. Jones. And it also appears, Mr. Gimbel, that there is a 1245 included in this agreement. Is that correct?
That is my understanding.
And that's a possession of marijuana.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Jones, as to the charge of possession of controlled substance, penalty group 1, less than 1 gram, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Ms. Jones, are you pleading guilty before the court because you are guilty of that offense and for no other reason?
No.
You're not pleading guilty?
No, I'm not guilty, but I'm pleading guilty.
Okay, well, that's going to be a problem because the court cannot allow you to plead guilty for something that you did not do.
So I can plead not guilty?
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to recall your case in a few moments, and you need to speak with your attorney, Mr. Gimbel. Okay? So go ahead and have a seat, and we'll be with you in just a moment. Mr. Gimbel, who else are you ready on?
Lori Rush.
CR 2193, State versus Lori Ann Rush. Ms. Rush is set for docket call today.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And is there an announcement?
We have received all the discovery material in her matter, and we just asked to be on the next trial docket.
So Ms. Rush is rejecting the state's plea offer?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that plea offer?
The offer was for 6 years TDC.
And Ms. Rush understands that if the court places her on the jury selection docket, that the court may not the court may not require her or allow her to enter into a plea agreement after today.
I've explained that to Ms. Rush.
All right, Ms. Rush, the court's going to place you on the jury selection docket beginning on March 1st. So on March 1st, you will report via Zoom, and Mr. Gimbel will be able to give you additional information about that once he gets it. So you will report via Zoom unless you're instructed to appear in person. All right, Ms. Rush, you're free to go. So on March 1st, you're going to log into your Zoom. All right, you're going to report to the court, and the court staff will advise you of your next date, or Mr. Gimbel will tell you that you have to appear in person. We won't know until we know what the COVID regulations are in March. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and you're still on pretrial release, so make sure that you're still in compliance with all of the orders of the court. All right, you're free to go. All right, Mr. Gimbel, I will recall Ms. Jones. Is that all you have?
And I also have Miss Taylor Grill.
Oh, Ms. Gribb, CR 1812. All right, this is CR 1812, State versus Taylor Gribb. This is a hearing on her motion to revoke.
That's correct, Your Honor. And we'd request a setting for a contested MTA.
Can the state and defense be ready on January 28th?
State will be ready, Your Honor.
It's 3 weeks.
That should be sufficient time.
Okay. All right. Court sets Ms. Gribb then on the contested docket for a hearing on her motion to revoke on January 28th at 9 a.m. And on that date, the court will conduct a Ms. Gribb's going to appear via Zoom unless the court notifies her that it will conduct an in-person proceeding, which is very likely. I love being in a state of flux and not knowing what I'm able to do and not do. Ms. Gribb, I want you to report in person on January 28th to this court, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're free to go.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if I could have a moment to visit with Ms. Jones before we recall that matter.
Yes. I have Mr. Harrison now. All right, Mr. Harrison, can you see and hear me okay?
I can, Your Honor, and I'm very apologetic for what's happened. I'm not sure why the snafu. Buck has been on for an hour waiting, so.
Yeah, and he may be assigned to a different device. I've got several logged in, and unless it's showing a name, I don't see him in there at all.
Okay.
I even brought in another individual that I thought was one of your paralegals, but it was not. So.
Okay.
All right, court's going to call CR 2295, State versus Camden Cruz, and I had brought Mr. Cruz into the hearing earlier when I thought I had found Mr. Files, but let me bring him back in. He's been waiting. He's been waiting patiently.
There he is.
All right, Mr. Cruz, can you see and hear the court okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and can you see and hear Mr. Harrison?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. I'm going to rename Mr. Harrison here. All right, this is cause number CR 2295. We're set for pretrial today, Mr. Harrison.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Files and Ms. Curry have been negotiating on this case, and they have a resolution to be proposed. It's going to be to a misdemeanor. Mr. Cruz is in Florida currently. We would request enough time to get the paperwork to everyone filed in and get him here to Van Zandt County to do the plea, but there is an agreement.
Okay. Let me look at the court's calendar briefly. Do you believe February 23rd would be enough time? And are you available on that date? Or is Mr. Fox available on that date?
That is certainly enough time, Your Honor, and we are available. Yes, sir.
All right. Court will set Mr. Cruz then for plea on February 23rd. The court will conduct an in-person hearing for a resolution of the case on that date at 9 a.m. Do you understand that, Mr. Cruz?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Harrison?
No, Your Honor. Again, sorry for the snafus.
No problem. Just glad to get you in. Okay. We'll see you gentlemen on February 23rd.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Hillary Tyler. May I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good day.
You too. Mr. Knoll, want another bite of the apple? We'll try.
I also have been provided with pages that.
Here, move over to the microphone so that I can ensure
that Mr. Woodwick did sign on the other set of plea papers that we did not get earlier this morning. So if the court would like, I do have his signatures.
Bring those up and we'll.
Just need to be added to or supplemented to the court.
Thanks, sir. All right, we are back on the record in CR 2280, State versus Mustafa Mohammed Abdel-Dayum. And sir, will you raise your right hand and place your oath? Sir, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah, correct.
All right. Sir, are you a United States citizen?
Yes, sir.
Do you read, write, and speak English?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been diagnosed with any type of mental condition? In this case, you're represented by your attorney, Mr. Kurt Knoll. Are you pleased with his representation of you?
Yes, sir.
You feel like you've had enough time to talk to him about your case and have all your legal questions answered?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything about the paperwork or case that you've reviewed and signed today that you do not understand? Mr. Knoll, do you believe your client to be competent today?
I do, Your Honor. And in reference to the citizenship, he was born in Egypt. He became a citizen approximately 7 years ago, so he is a citizen present.
Good. Have you explained to him his legal and constitutional rights?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you also explained to him the advantages and disadvantages of a deferred adjudication plea?
I have.
And you believe he understands those?
I do.
All right, it appears that the plea agreement in this case is that Mr. Abdel-Dayum pleads guilty to the state jail felony offense of possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1 less than 1 gram. In exchange for the state's recommendation that a finding of guilt be deferred, that he be placed on 2 years community supervision, pays a $1,500 fine, $180 restitution, and reimburses Van Zandt County $535. Is that your understanding of the plea agreement, Mr. Knoll?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Abdel-Dayum, is that your understanding as well?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Abdel-Dayum, the state jail felony offense of possession of controlled substance is confinement in the state jail division of TDC for not less than 6 months or more than 2 years, and a fine not to exceed $10,000. Do you understand that full range of
Yes, sir.
punishment?
Yes, sir.
You understand that if you get placed on community supervision and you violate the terms and conditions of your community supervision,
Yes, sir.
the state could file a motion to bring you back before the court. And if the court finds that you violated, the court could convict you of this offense and place you in prison up to 2 years.
Yes, sir.
And you want to go forward with this plea today, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have to say yes or no out loud so my court reporter here can take down everything that's being said, okay? Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And make sure you speak up louder. I know that mask is kind of hard to talk through. All right, Mr. Abdel-Dayum, then, how do you plead to this offense? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And are you pleading guilty because of the fact you are guilty of committing this offense?
Yes, sir.
Has anyone threatened you, forced you, or pressured you to plead guilty?
No.
Court accepts Mr. Abdel-Dayum's plea of guilt in this case. Mr. Knoll, any objection to States 1?
No, Your Honor.
States 1, stipulation of evidence is admitted. Court takes judicial notice of the defendant's judicial confession. Anything further from the state?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
From the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, based on the court's review of the evidence, I find that there is sufficient evidence to convict you of this offense. However, the court will follow the plea agreement in this case. The court defers a finding of guilt, places the defendant on 2 years community supervision, assesses a $1,500 fine, $180 restitution. Court orders you to pay court costs of $290 and orders you to reimburse Van Zandt County in the amount of $535. Mr. Knoll, can I have your assistance, please? Can you have your client print his name there underneath on the written plea admonishments? Yes, sir, please. Thank you. All right, sir, you are hereby remanded to the custody of the Van Zandt County Community Supervision and Corrections Department so they can carry out the terms and conditions of the sentence. I'm going to have you step up here to be fingerprinted with my bailiff. After that, I want you to report over here through these doors to the probation department. Okay?
If that's all I have, may I be excused?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Knoll. Mr. Gilmore, are you ready on your plea?
Yes, I am.
Are we moving forward with the plea on Ms. Jones? she going to withdraw her plea, or is she pleading guilty?
No, she was confused.
Okay. All right, come up, Ms. Jones. All right, we are back on the record in CR 2256, State versus Shazman Desiree Jones. All right, so Ms. Jones, when I left off in our discussion, I had it told you what the range of punishment was for a state jail felony, told you what you had been charged with, and then I asked you if you were pleading guilty, and you said that you were. I then asked you if you were pleading guilty because you are guilty of committing that offense, and at that time, my recollection is you said that you're not guilty of the offense, but you are pleading guilty.
Yeah, I was confused. I didn't know what I was supposed to be saying. I didn't know if I was supposed to plead guilty or not. But I'm correct now. I know what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
I understand now.
Okay. And you understand you're still under oath?
Yes.
Right? Okay. All right. So, Ms. Jones, let me ask it another way. Are you guilty of committing this offense?
Yes.
Okay. And are you telling me that you're guilty because you really did commit this offense, and you're not just telling me that so that you can get a certain plea agreement?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The court will accept Ms. Jones' plea of guilt at this time. Mr. Gimbel, any objection to States 1?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. States 1 is admitted into evidence, and the court takes judicial notice of Ms. Jones' judicial confession. Is there anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor, we'd rest and close.
Thank you, Ms. Hosmer. Anything further from the defense?
Nothing further from defense, Your Honor. Rest and close.
Question about the evidence. In the offense report, I don't see any mention of methamphetamine. I see mention of MDMA, ecstasy, marijuana, alcohol, and a firearm. But the lab, I believe, shows something wrong here. I guess so. There was methamphetamine located in the pink diamond-shaped tablets. Is that correct?
Yes.
That was my understanding, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Ms. Heisel.
Quite a few of our ecstasy cases lately have come back positive for methamphetamine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. It just caught my attention. I was looking for the white substance.
That's been my experience as well, Your Honor, that ecstasy does show up in the lab as positive for methamphetamine.
Okay, thank you. All right, based on my review of the evidence, the court will find that there is sufficient evidence to convict Ms. Jones of this offense. However, the court will follow the plea agreement in your case, Ms. Jones. The court hereby defers the finding of guilt, places you on 2 years community supervision, orders you to pay a $2,500 fine, $180 restitution. Court orders you to reimburse Van Zandt County $535. Court will dismiss DA 2020-258, possession of marijuana charge under section 1245 of the Texas Penal Code. All right, Ms. Jones, you are hereby remanded to the custody of the Van Zandt County Community Supervision and Corrections Department so they can carry out the terms and conditions of the sentence. I'm going to have you step forward here to be fingerprinted with my bailiff. After that, I want you to report through these doors here to your probation. Ms. Thompson, Mr. Sanders, do y'all have anyone that's ready in the courtroom?
Yes, sir, I believe I'm ready on all my claims.
Ready on all yours? And Mr. Sanders, are you ready as well?
Your Honor, I have one other client in the courtroom. It's on the docket this morning.
Oh, you do? Who is that?
Carl Klump.
All right. Sorry, Ms. Thompson. I'll be with you in just a moment. Mr. Klump, CR 20294. You'll make your way to the center podium, please.
This is our first pretrial setting, Your Honor. We had an arraignment last month, and I've just obtained some video discovery that I have not been able to review with Mr. Klump yet. If we could be reset to next month, I would have the opportunity to review all discovery with Mr. Klump.
Any objection about the state?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to reset you to February 23rd, Mr. Gimbel, on pretrial to give you time to review that video with Mr. Klump. February 23rd at 9 a.m. Mr. Gimbel, do you have clients this afternoon?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, good. We'll see you 30, I guess. Ms. Thompson, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Who are you ready on first?
I'm ready on Rachel Donohue.
Ms. Donahue? All right, it's a CR 20242-243.
Do you want the plea paper?
Yes, sir. Please go. I'm sorry.
Take it with it, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Donahoe. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
All right, this is CR 2243, State versus Rachel Charis Donahoe. Ms. Donahoe, if you will, raise your right hand. I'm going to place you under oath. Ma'am, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, make sure you speak up loudly and clearly.
Okay, sorry.
You've got a soft
Yes,
spoken.
sir.
Okay. You've got a soft voice. And Joe, will you make sure that that microphone is green? It could be that that's off. So, there we go. The masks make it difficult to talk.
Yeah.
When you're soft spoken, it's difficult. The court reporter here has got to hear what you got to say. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Miss Donahoe, are you a United States citizen?
Yes, sir.
And do you read, write, and speak English?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been diagnosed with any type of mental condition?
Yes, sir.
What have you been diagnosed with?
Bipolar disorder, PTSD, anxiety.
Are you currently on medication for any of those?
No, sir.
And why are you not on medication for those?
I don't like RXs. So.
Okay. And do you feel like today, the fact that you've had those mental health disorders diagnosed and that you're not on medication, do you feel like in any way you don't understand what's going on in court here today or what has gone on in your case?
No, sir.
You feel like you understand everything?
Yes, sir.
And in this case, you are represented by your attorney, Miss Ann Thompson. Are you pleased with her representation of you?
Yes, sir.
You feel like you've had enough time to talk with her about your case and have all your legal questions answered?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Thompson, do you believe Ms. Donahoe to be competent today?
I do, Your Honor. We've had several discussions and I've always found her to be clear.
All right, thank you. Have you explained to her her legal and constitutional rights?
Yes, I have, yeah.
All right, Ms. Donahoe, you are charged with the state jail felony offense of possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1, less than 1 gram. And it looks like the plea agreement in this case is for your case to proceed under section 1244A of the Texas Penal Code, which means that upon your plea of guilt, the recommendation from the state is that you be punished with 60 days confinement in the county jail, with you receiving credit for 1 day, a fine of $2,000, restitution of $180, court costs of $290, and reimbursement fees of $985. Is that the plea agreement as you understand it?
Yes, sir.
The range of punishment for a state jail felony prosecuted under 1244A is confinement up to 365 days in the county jail. No more. You understand that? And a fine not to exceed a fine not to exceed $4,000. And it appears that the plea agreement you've reached with the state would legally fall within that range of punishment. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So at this time, let me ask you, how do you plead to the state jail felony offense of possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1, less than 1 gram?
Guilty.
Ma'am?
Guilty.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty of committing that offense?
Yes, sir.
Has anyone threatened you, forced you, or pressured you to plead guilty?
No, sir.
Court accepts Ms. Donahoe's plea of guilt. Any objection to States 1, Ms. Thompson?
No objection, Your Honor.
States 1, stipulation of evidence is admitted. The court takes judicial notice of the defendant's judicial confession. Is there anything further from the state?
My unmute didn't work, Judge. No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further from the defense?
No.
Ms. Thompson, is there a lab report associated with this case?
Yes, sir, there was. Didn't.
What I have in the stipulation is the indictment and then offense
Judge, if it pleases the court, the state can just email you a copy of that lab report to include in the stipulation if there's no objection by defense.
No objection.
And Ms. Thompson's provided a copy. Any objection to the court including this in the stipulation of evidence? Was that the intent of the parties?
Yes, sir. No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, the court's going to include the laboratory case number associated with this case and incorporate it into State's Exhibit 1 this time. All right, Ms. Donahoe, based on the court's review of the case, the court finds that there is sufficient evidence to convict you of this offense. The court will follow the plea agreement that you've reached with the state. The court convicts you of the state jail felony offense of possession of a controlled substance in penalty group 1 less than 1 gram. The court assesses your punishment pursuant to 1244 subsection A of the Texas Penal Code at 60 days confinement in the county jail. The court orders you, or issues you credit rather, for 1 day of time credit already served. The court orders you to pay a $2,000 fine, a $180 restitution, and orders you to pay $985 reimbursement fees to Van Zandt County. Ms. Donahoe, upon being released from the Van Zandt County Justice Center, you'll need to make arrangements by contacting the Van Zandt County Courthouse compliance officer to make arrangements to discharge all of your fines and fees, okay? If you can't afford to pay all of those at one time, then you can make a payment arrangement with the court, and you can pay those off. If you fail to do that and you fail to pay off your fine and court costs and reimbursement fees, the court will issue a warrant for your arrest and put you back in jail. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So upon getting out, call up to the courthouse and ask to speak with someone about your fines and court costs, and you'll be directed to the right place.
Okay.
All right, it's my understanding that Ms. Donahoe is going into custody today. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Donahoe, you're hereby remanded to the custody of the Van Zandt County Sheriff so he can carry out the terms and conditions of the sentence. I'm gonna have you step forward here with my bailiff to be fingerprinted, and at that time, you'll be taken into custody, okay? Ms. Heisel and Ms. Thompson, before we go on Ms. Donahoe, I don't know that I saw it, but was there a 1245 of the firearm by felon case?
Yes, sir. 1245 on.
Is that in there? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was a motion for unadjudicated offense was in there.
Okay. I must have signed the form, but I didn't see it in the terms of the plea agreement. So the court this day is also dismissing under section 1245, cause number CR 2242, unlawful possession of firearm by felon. Who are you ready on next, Ms. Thompson?
Justin Williams.
Mr. Williams, if you'll make your way to the center podium, please, sir. CR 2276, State versus Justin Wayne Williams. We're set for docket call today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any announcement?
Your Honor, I want to talk to the DA a little more to see if we can't resolve it. I believe that we can. I would ask for resetting on that.
What's been the state's offer in this case?
None at this point.
No offer?
No, sir.
And state, is that been intentional?
I don't think it's been intentional, Your Honor. I think it's all this that's been going on with the COVID and rescheduling matters.
Judge, I do believe that's correct. I believe this was, I indicted this case and there was some confusion about making offers. But I will get with Ms. Thompson. I'm sure we can resolve this case in a standard reset.
All right, court's going to set Mr. Williams for docket call on February 9th. Any scheduling conflicts that day, Ms. Thompson?
I don't believe so, sir.
All right, and so Mr. Williams will need to appear via Zoom that day unless he's going to resolve his case, Ms. Thompson. And my criminal court coordinator will give you more information about that next week.
Yes, sir.
On what the court procedures are going to be. So Mr. Williams, Ms. Thompson is going to give you a notice of appearance. Once you sign that, you'll get the yellow copy. You'll be free to go, and you'll have to report via Zoom online on February 9th, unless you resolve your case. If you resolve your case, then I'll have you come in and we'll do the paperwork and get your fingerprint, do those things, okay?
Your Honor, I believe that Mr. Williams said that he needed to speak with probation this morning for some fees that he's ready to prepare to pay.
Yeah, once you get your notice of appearance, if you want to come back and meet with probation or pretrial release, you can do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Thompson, have you heard from Roderick Hunter?
Not at all, Your Honor, no, since the last court date.
Okay, I don't see, I called his name at 9. He was not in the courtroom. I had no indication that he was to appear via Zoom, and I don't see him in Zoom at this time.
I have not heard from him, Your Honor. I did send him a letter telling him that my office number had changed and provided him with that number, and I've still not heard from him.
And I believe that you had a motion to withdraw.
Yes, I did.
So what I want to do is I want to carry that forward until we get him back before the court. That's
Yes,
okay.
That's fine, Your Honor, whatever you need to do, sir.
Are you ready on Jeannie Hughes?
Yes, sir.
Is Miss Hughes here? Mr. Sanders, I'll get to you in just a moment. You don't care if I call all the people on the computer before you, do you? I'm just teasing you. I wouldn't do that to you. I just want to see if you'd be honest with me. I wanted you to get mad. I wanted to see if I could get you to get mad, but apparently I can't do it. I'm going to work harder. All right, Miss Hughes. CR 2216, State versus Jeannie K. Hughes. We're set for docket call today.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we're at this time just put it on court announcement.
Okay. So what's been the offer in this case?
9 months state jail.
Your client's rejecting that?
At this time, she is, Your Honor.
And she understands that she may not be allowed to enter into a plea agreement to even a lesser offer after today's.
She understands that, Your Honor, but I have spoken with Ms. Heisel, and we are still working on resolving the issue.
All right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to order Ms. Hughes to undergo a urinalysis at this time before I set her case. So I'm going to recall her in just a moment. Ms. Hughes, if you'll come over and have a seat. Once you provide your urine sample and I get a report back from the probation department, then I'll bring you back and we'll discuss your schedule. Is that your last one, Ms. Thompson?
Sir, Mary Dean, Your Honor.
Ms. Dean, CR 20288. Ms. Dean is set for pretrial today.
Yes, sir.
Any contested pretrial motion?
We don't have any, the defense has no pretrial motions at this time, Your Honor.
All right. We'll set Ms. Dean then for docket call on February 9th at 9 a.m. And Ms. Dean, as you've probably heard me tell everyone else, you'll need to make arrangements to appear remotely via Zoom on that day unless Ms. Thompson or the court calls you and tells you otherwise, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sanders, if you'll make your way to the podium.
No, yes, ma'am. I just wanted to date it. He asked me to put aside. I signed it.
CR 2301, State versus James Brian O'Brien. Mr. O'Brien is set for pretrial today.
Yes, sir, that's correct. And Judge, we don't have any contested pretrial issues. We just have to be set for docket call.
Are you available on February 9th?
Yes, yeah, they're fine.
All right, court sets Mr. O'Brien then for docket call on February 9th. And Mr. Sanders, as you're familiar with the court's policy on that date, I would like to hear whether or not we're going to resolve this case by plea agreement or we're going to be requesting a bench trial or a jury trial.
Okay, that'd be great, Judge.
Mr. O'Brien, once you get your notice of setting, the yellow copy, you'll be free to go.
And Judge, if we have it all resolved before then, we need to show up then for the deduction of the plea in person.
Yes, if you're going to resolve the case that day, just for your information, the court's going to send out information to the bar next week on how we're going to proceed under the new court operations plan regarding in-person proceedings. But if the case is going to result in a resolution where someone's going to go into custody or we need to attain a fingerprint, then you'll need to contact the court coordinator so that I can make findings on an in-person proceeding. If the case is not going to be resolved, if there's a request for reset, then that would be via Zoom.
Okay, sounds good.
So the presumption is going to be Zoom unless we're notified that we need to have in-person for one of the reasons that you're going to see on the court's plan that I'll be providing to you. Okay. Ms. Wood. All right, this is CR 1884, State versus Casey Renee Wood. Ms. Wood, you're currently on probation, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I have before me a request to amend your probation to do a couple of things. One is to extend your probation period for 6 months. That would extend you from January 19th of 21 until June 18th of 21. And that would also include, that extension would also require you to pay probation fees and UA fees during that period. Why is it that the court needs to extend your probation?
I work way too much to do community service, and my one day off is either taking the babies to the doctors or taking myself to the doctors. I'm having some issues of my own, health issue wise. So that my one day off rose around everybody's appointments, and I've tried to figure out ways to do my community service, but we haven't got an answer back. I've even asked to pay it off, and the probation office said that they wouldn't do that.
Let me ask you this. If I sign this amendment, do you believe that you will be able to get your community service done during the 6 months?
I'm going to try. I am a manager, so.
Let me ask you another way. If I don't sign this and your probation is set to expire on January 19th and you don't have all your community service done, then the department's likely
to revoke,
to file a motion to revoke and put you back in jail. Which one would you rather do? Extend and work hard to do your community service, or just have the state file a motion to revoke?
I'm gonna have to try even harder. I mean,
and so you're in agreement with the extension?
Yes.
Okay. And no one's threatened you, forced you, or pressured you to extend your probation?
No.
All right. Court has approved the amendment to your probation conditions. The court has signed that. Come on back here and report to Ms. Burns or Mr. Waddell. Sorry I didn't get your call sooner. All right. Who do I have remaining in the courtroom? Your name, sir? Antonio Alano? All right, Mr. Lano, if you'll come up to the center podium, please. I believe your attorney is online. Let me pull him in. Good morning, Mr. Stuckel. Can you see and hear me okay?
I can. Yes, I can.
All right, thank you for your patience. I've had to empty the courtroom of quite a number of people. So we're down to your client now. This is Antonio Lano, CR 20134. Mr. Lano, raise your hand so that Mr. Stuckel can see that you're in the courtroom. Can you say your name so we can make sure he can hear you?
Antonio Llano Jr.
Can you hear him, Mr. Stuckel?
I can.
Okay. All right. We are set for docket call today. Do we have any announcement as to whether or not there's a plea agreement or a request for jury trial or a bench trial, Mr. Stuckel?
I believe there'll be a request for a jury trial.
Okay. Do you believe that you and the state have extinguished all possible negotiations?
I know that we're declining the offer that they have made. I'm still open to discussing that with the state. But if we're at that point to where we have to accept what's on the table now, that would be a no.
Okay. And what is, for the court's information, what is the current offer from the state?
I believe it's 25 years.
Is that correct, state?
Judge, this was Mr. Cox's case. The last offer I show in the system is 40 TDC, but I could follow up with Mr. Cox to confirm that or get new information.
Well, certainly we weren't happy about the 25. We're definitely not happy about 40. And they may be correct. I could be mixing up cases.
Okay. All right. So at this time, any offer requiring Texas Department of Criminal Justice time in the amount of either 25 years or 40 years is being rejected by the defendant. Am I correct about that?
That is correct, sir.
And state, you are not aware of any other offer than those two, if the 25 is even an offer.
That's correct, Your Honor. I'm aware of no other offer than the 40 TDC.
Okay. All right. Then the court is going to set Mr. Lano on the jury selection docket beginning March 1st. Mr. Stuckel, the way that this is going to work is Mr. Lano is going to have to appear via Zoom to get a notice of resetting on March 1st, as his case will not be the #1 case for trial in March. Obviously, the court is having to work around the COVID orders from the Supreme Court in the state. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is contact my criminal court coordinator. We're going to send out some information next week as our plan on telling the defense bar in the state how we're going to handle in-person hearings going forward. So for jury selection, when Mr. Lano's case is not going to be tried, rather than having him come to the courthouse and me to sign a notice of setting, we are anticipating having everyone appear via Zoom, be instructed by court staff of the next date, acknowledging their appearance, creating a record of that, and moving forward. Okay. So for you, Mr. Stuckel, you will not be required to appear on this case again unless you are given notice by the court's administrator. Okay.
Yes, sir. I understand.
And as this case gets closer to trial and lands in the court's top 10, then you'll receive a top 10 notice.
Yes, sir.
All right. You understand that, Mr. Lano?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you'll need to make arrangements and learn how to appear on your phone or on your mobile device or computer with camera and audio. And we'll give Mr. Stuckel that information. So stay in contact with him. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. And I tell you what, let me give you, I'm going to give you a notice of setting. All right. Okay. And it'll have that March 1st date on it. Once you get that, you'll be ready to go. All right. Mr. Waddell is going to bring you this notice of appearance. I need you to sign here. Make sure you have your current address, and then we're going to give you a copy of this. And this says on March 1st, 2021 at 8:15 a.m. And that's going to be Zoom. And Mr. Stucker will be able to provide you a Zoom ID.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll have that information. We'll make sure you get it too.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Once you receive that, you'll have a copy. You're free to leave. Your name, ma'am? Thank you. All right, and Ms. Gibson, I don't believe your case is set until 11, but I believe that your attorney, Mr. Stevens, will be appearing via Zoom. He may be in here in just a moment. I'm going to find out. Well, that's good. You're in the right place and you're here early. That's excellent. Thank you. You're welcome. You're free to go. All right, thank you, Mr. Stockwell. You're free to go.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Good morning, Mr. Stevens. How are you doing, sir?
Now I'm okay. How are you, Judge?
I'm doing fine, doing well.
Good.
All right, I have your client, Ms. Gibson. Come on up, ma'am. Ms. Gibson was here early as you instructed her to be.
Yes, sir.
So I'm sure you're pleased with that. This is cause
Absolutely.
This is cause number CR 2249, State versus Leslie Denise Gibson. We're set for pretrial today.
We are, Your Honor. We have no formal pretrial matters.
Okay. And would you be available on February 9th for a docket call?
February 9th.
Yes, sir.
That's a horrible day for me, Judge. I got Kaufman in the morning and in the afternoon, sir.
See, that's funny. You say it's a horrible day, and the first thing you say is you're going to be in my court, Mr. Stevens. I love your brutal honesty. That's a horrible. Go see Martin over in Van Zandt.
What can I say?
You're in Kaufman that day. How about
Yes, sir.
how about the 23rd? Is that another horrible day?
That's good.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we'll set Miss Gibson then for. You know what? There was two of these together on the road, so this was not good. All right, Ms. Gibson, I'm going to have the bailiff bring this appearance and announcement form. I need you to sign on the X, and then we're going to give you a copy of this showing that you will be back on February 23rd. And actually, I'm going to have you appear via Zoom, unless, Mr. Stevens, unless there's going to be a plea agreement that day. If there's going to be a
All right, sir.
agreement wherein Ms. Gibson either goes into custody or goes into probation, and we have to acquire a fingerprint. If we're not going to resolve it that day, then she'll need to appear via Zoom. So
Yes, sir.
talk to her about utilizing her device, figuring that out before the 23rd.
I will, Your Honor. When I spoke with her yesterday or the day before, I don't think she had a device at that time, but we'll work something out.
And the incident arrives where she does not have the device and she's unable to do that, you'll just contact Ms. Tabraham, and she'll get that information to me, and we may be able to allow her to appear in person if she does not have access to technology.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
There's about 25 hoops I got to jump through to decide who gets to come in the courtroom. Okay.
I hear you.
All right, Ms. Gibson, you are free to go. We'll see you back on the 23rd, and I want you to try to make arrangements and figure out how to appear on a mobile device or a computer with a camera and audio capability. Your phone, that if you have a smartphone, that's the way to do it. You'll need to download the app. Stay in contact with Mr. Stevens. He'll have that information for you on how to appear. And if you, for some reason, cannot appear on that day via your phone, then you'll let Mr. Stevens know that we may bring you in. All right, you're free to go. Mrs. Thompson's. Okay. All right, we'll wait on her. Do you have any other court you have to be at?
No, there was, date on Mr. Hunter.
On Mr. Hunter? No reset at this time. We'll have to get him back in custody. I'll do a nice out warrant. And once we get him back in custody, then we'll set it.
Yes, sir.
All right, I've got some Zoom attorneys I need to pull in.
Your Honor, I had also Mr. Atkinson set at 9 o'clock, and I think he was going to appear by Zoom.
Okay, all right, Mr. Stevens. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah, I think he is. Mr. Elliott, I'll be with you in just a moment. All right, good morning, Mr. Atkinson. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Can you see and hear your attorney, Mr. Stevens?
Can you hear me, Eric?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Okay.
can you see him as well?
Yeah.
Not yet. If you're on your phone, you may have to swipe left or right to see.
I'm on my computer. It looks like he's to the side. I can kind of see him.
Can you see me waving at you?
Oh, now I see you. Now I see you.
Okay.
I don't think you want him up close. I don't think we want. I'm just teasing. All right, so Mr. Atkinson is set for docket call NCR 2147. Any announcement, Mr. Stevens?
No, Your Honor, we have not reached an agreement. I would ask you to set it for another docket call because of the COVID that my whole family's fighting. I'm unable to get with Hillary about an alternate offer. And if you would allow us another docket setting, I think I can resolve it.
Does the state have a position?
No objection from the state, Your Honor.
While I'm doing this, what is the current offer for Mr. Atkinson?
It's 2 years, Your Honor, probated for 3. And my client wants me to inquire on a time offer.
All right. Court will set Mr. Atkinson then for additional docket call on February 9th. I've already set you on. No, I'm sorry, not the 9th. That's the horrible date. On the 23rd.
Yes, sir, please.
Court hereby sets Mr. Eric Atkinson for docket call on February 23rd. Mr. Atkinson, this will be the only notice that you receive from the court, and you will appear via Zoom that day unless you reach a resolution in your case. If you reach a resolution in your case, the court will give you further instructions on how to appear.
February 23rd, right?
February 23rd, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you understand?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you're free to go.
Have a nice day.
You're welcome.
That does it for me this morning. Judge might be excused.
Yes, sir, Mr. Stevens. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it, sir.
Mr. Elliott, are you ready on Mr. Gandy?
I'm ready, Judge. I'm not sure if he was able to get in. He apparently was on early this morning, according to Ms. Barker, and then they emailed our office saying that they were no longer able to get back on. I don't know if he's on or not. I don't see him anywhere.
Well, I have people in the waiting room. I don't bring people in until it's time. It just gets too congested. I don't see him in the waiting room, and I haven't seen Mr. Gandy in the waiting room at all today. Unless he had a unnamed device or he didn't put his name in. I never saw him appear. Do you want to contact them and see if they can get logged back in?
And Ms. Barker told me that when she logged on first thing this morning, there was a Gandy on there, but I don't know what happened to him, but I got an email earlier this week that his wife had tested positive for coronavirus. I sent an email over to, I believe Ms. Heisel was one of the emails that I may have sent that to, stating that I wasn't going to have him at my office and I wasn't going to meet him at court. So I'm assuming that he's been tested. I haven't received any results for him. I know that this is kind of a situation where I had told him he could be expecting to go to jail today. Seems kind of convenient, I'm sure, to everyone else, but we're all on a computer instead of in a courtroom, so things are kind of weird right now anyway.
All right, this is what I'm going to do. I know that the probation department is still awaiting a confirmation on the court-administered UA. So the court will reset Mr. Gandy for January 28th. Pretrial release status. Here, come on over here. Go to that podium so that we heard on microphone. Australia can hear you. And you can also be seen.
Your Honor, you had instructed the defendant last time he was in court that he had weekly drug tests.
Is he not?
I'm having difficulty hearing.
Mr. Waddell reminded the court that I had instructed him to report to the probation department weekly. Go ahead.
Yes, you told him in court that he had to report weekly for drug tests. He has not reported this week. I was hoping to test him today.
If y'all want him there this week, I'll instruct him to come.
Well, I don't know if Mr. Waddell is aware that his wife tested positive for COVID. He was testing on the 6th, as I was told. I don't know response on that. Do you still want it? Mr. Elliott, is there any way to get confirmation? Can they appear by phone? Mr. Gandy appear by phone so we can get an update on whether or not he is positive?
Let me see if I can get my legal assistant to call him right quick.
All right, I'm gonna mute you for a second while you are doing that, and then I'm gonna move on real quick. But I'll leave you in this here.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Steele. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Judge. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I appreciate your patience. I had some people in the courtroom this morning. It took me a little while to kind of clear them out, but now we're left to Zoom people. So
yes, sir. Their business is good in Van Zandt County.
Business is good. I'm going to bring in Kobe Cole. Are you ready on Kobe Cole?
Yes, sir.
just a moment so we can connect audio. Good morning, Mr. Cole. Can you see and hear me? You'll need to unmute your device.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. This is cause number CR 2208, State versus Kobe Shane Cole. Mr. Cole, can you see your attorney, Mr. Steele?
Not at the moment, but I seen him just a while ago before we.
You may have to swipe left or right if you want to see him.
Okay.
Can you see Mr. Cole, Mr. Steele?
Yes, Judge, I can see Mr. Cole.
Okay, now I can see now.
Okay, good. Excellent. All right. We are set for pre-trial today. Mr. Steele, have you received discovery in this case?
I have, Your Honor, and Tyler and I have spoken about the case, and I'm going to send him some case law on a potential motion to suppress issue, and we're negotiating the case.
Did you file a motion to suppress?
I have not filed a motion to suppress yet, Your Honor.
Do you intend to file a motion to suppress?
If Tyler and I agree on the issue, then I don't think a motion to suppress hearing will be necessary.
As to the pretrial hearing, statutorily is where pretrial motions have to be filed 7 days before, provided to the state. So since you haven't filed any contested pretrial motions, and that's typically the court's policy on pretrial, I find out if there's anything contested. If there's not, then I just set the case for docket call and allow the state and defendant to be continuing their negotiations. So at this time, I'll set Mr. Cole then for docket call. Do you have your schedule available, Mr. Steele? Do you know what your schedule is?
Sure, Judge.
Are you available on February? Are you available on either February 9 or February 23rd?
Are those going to be Thursdays, Judge?
No, they would both. No, both of them will be Tuesdays.
I'll take February 23rd.
23rd.
Yes, sir.
All right. Set Mr. Cole then for docket call on February 23rd. And so, Mr. Steele, what I want to hear on the 23rd is either Mr. Cole is going to accept some kind of offer, or the state's going to accept a counter offer, or there's going to be an announcement of either a jury trial request or a bench trial request, some kind of disposition, unless there's some other overriding issue that we can't reach some kind of announcement on that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Cole, this will be this will be the only notice you get from the court, and your next appearance will be via Zoom, unless you receive notification from the court. If you're going to resolve your case that day by plea to probation or time or something of that nature, where we have to have paperwork and fingerprints, only in that situation will you come to the courtroom. Otherwise, you're going to have to appear via Zoom again that day. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, I understand.
All right. So Mr. Steele will be able to give you the Zoom ID that you'll need. You'll be notified by my criminal court coordinator. So if y'all reach a resolution and you want to enter a plea agreement, Mr. Steele, you'll notify my coordinator so that we can make arrangements for in-person proceedings.
Yes, sir.
All
Judge,
right.
I just have one more matter with regards to Mr. Cole.
Go ahead.
He is checked in to VA rehab, Veterans Affairs rehab. He's going to be there for 31 days. He's supposed to check in with pretrial supervision. Is that right, Mr. Cole?
I received yesterday or day before, I received a text saying I needed to visit with my probation officer, and I tried to contact him, but he was out of the office that day, and so I didn't know how. But getting into this rehab has taken me almost a year, and they don't allow you to leave during the 31 days.
Yeah. So, Judge, it's a 31-day program. I have a letter from the Department of Veterans Affairs that I'm holding in my hand, and it says he is admitted on January 6th. He is to be on the VA campus for 31 days, and they do not give passes to leave the VA grounds. So all I'm asking, Judge, is if he can be excused, if I send this letter to the court, if he can be excused from reporting in person to the probation or pretrial supervision, whatever it is that he was supposed to do, I guess, today.
was supposed to be there at 10 o'clock today is when the meeting was set up for, I guess. But I've also caught up with my payments and made them as you instructed me to last time, sir.
Thank you. All right, so Mr. Cole, do you have Mr. Carl Waddell's email information?
Yeah, I have his information. Yes, sir.
Then if you'll just email him where he can contact you at an email or a phone number,
Yes,
he
sir.
said that he would make contact with you and we'll work out your reporting.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, you're welcome. So make sure you do that so he can do his job. Okay.
I'll take care of that today.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, you're free to go. We'll see you back on the 23rd via Zoom.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Judge.
Let's see, maybe Moto 7 calls phone. Okay. Mr. Elliott, I believe that your client's in the waiting room. If he'll just stay there for a moment, I need to finish with Mr. Steele's clients. He just has a few more. All right, I'm going to bring in Kimberly Marshall. Ma'am. All right, it says she's joining. It may take just a moment.
I send this letter to the court, he can be excused from reporting
Ms.
to
Marshall, I'm going to need you to turn off the YouTube.
or pretrial supervision, whatever it is that he was supposed to do, I guess today. I was supposed to be there at 10 o'clock today.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. This is CR 20178, State versus Kimberly Dawn Marshall. And Ms. Marshall, can you see Mr. Steele? He's also appearing via Zoom.
Yes, sir.
All right. We are set for docket call today. Any announcement, Mr. Steele?
Judge, State and I have had a couple conversations this week. I do have discovery. I think we're very close to working out a potential resolution of the case. I would ask for another docket call or pretrial if the court feels it's necessary to set for trial. But I kind of feel like we'll be able to get this case resolved.
Any objection for an additional docket call, Mr. Woodwhite?
No, Judge. I would also note for the record that Ms. Marshall was previously represented by court-appointed counsel and I believe has not overly long been represented by Mr. Steele. We have had a very fruitful conversation. I do believe we will be able to work something out in the near future.
All right, I'll set Ms. Marshall then for an additional docket call on February 23rd. On that date, I will hear whether or not she's accepted the state's offer or the state's accepted the defendant's counter offers, if any, or that there's going to be a request for a bench trial or a jury trial. Ms. Marshall, as things stand right now, you should plan to appear via Zoom on the 23rd. If your case gets worked out and there's going to be a resolution, we may have you come into court. We'll let you know as that date gets closer, but plan on appearing via Zoom unless your attorney tells you otherwise.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Steele, as my announcement for the benefit of your client, if the case is going to get resolved, you'll contact my criminal court coordinator and we'll make arrangements for an in-person proceeding.
Yes, Judge.
All right, so Ms. Marshall, you're free to go.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, of course, bringing in Stormy McCoy. Give her a second to connect to audio. Ms. McCoy, can you see and hear the court?
Hello?
Hello. All right, Ms. McCoy, can you see and hear the court?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and your attorney, Mr. Kyle Steele, is also appearing via Zoom. If you're on your phone and you cannot see him, you may have to swipe left or right. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Steele, this is CR 20262, State versus Stormy Ray McCoy, and Ms. McCoy is set for pretrial. Do you have any formal pretrial contested motions, motion to suppress, motion to quash, anything of that nature?
Do not anticipate any of those types of motions, Judge. I got discovery. Tyler and I, the state and I have talked about these cases a couple of times this week. I feel confident. We kind of batted around a demand and a counter, and I feel confident we could probably have these cases resolved prior to February 23rd. And I guess I'd ask for another pretrial, or if the court feels is necessary, send it to docket call.
Well, there being no pretrial motions filed, the court will set for docket call on February 23rd. Ms. McCoy, you will appear via Zoom that day unless your case gets resolved and your attorney directs you to appear in person.
Okay.
So just,
Yes, sir.
and Mr. Steele will have the information for the Zoom ID and everything that you'll need on the 23rd.
Okay.
So stay in contact with him and we'll see you back on February 23rd at 9 a.m.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're free to go.
All right.
All right, court is bringing in Michael Watkins, and I believe that's your last client, Mr. Steele. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
All right, good morning, Mr. Watkins. Can you see and hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, your attorney, Mr. Kyle Steele, is also appearing via Zoom. If you're on your phone and you cannot see him, you may have to swipe left or right. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Steele, Mr. Watkins, this is CR 20201, set for docket call. Any announcement for the court?
Again, similar to the previous announcement, Judge. I've been on the case a couple months. I've got discovery now. I've had a couple of conversations with the state. I think they've been fruitful conversations. I think we're close to figuring out a resolution. I'd ask for another docket call.
State would have no objection, Your Honor.
Do we have any update on the attorney reimbursement that Mr. Watkins was ordered to get current?
My understanding, Judge, is that's all been paid. Mr. Watkins, is that correct?
We have paid Kimberly's. We haven't got notice on mine yet.
Oh, okay. Michael,
I think we were waiting for Mr. to get it over.
Your previous attorney, you're waiting for a bill or an invoice or something?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for an invoice from him or somebody is. The court is. I've been told a price or anything. That's all I'm waiting for.
Give me just a moment. Let me look in the case.
Mr. Woods hasn't sent an invoice into the court yet. Yeah, we were trying to pay it yesterday.
Michael, just the court's looking at it. Just let let us look at it, please.
And Mr. Jeff Wood was your attorney previously, is that correct? All right, then court finds that there has not been a motion to pay court-appointed attorney fees submitted at this time. So we will try to determine, the court will try to determine what that amount's going to be and provide it to your attorney, Mr. Steele, and he can communicate that to you. All right, then there's being no objection from the state on additional docket call setting. Court will set Mr. Watkins for February 23rd. And Mr. Watkins, you will need to appear via Zoom that day unless Mr. Steele indicates otherwise to you. You understand? Mr. Watkins, did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So February 23rd, you'll appear via Zoom and check with Mr. Steele, and he'll have more information about how to log in and what number to use. So you're free to go. You're free to go at this time.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. All right, Mr. Steele, I believe that concludes all of your clients today.
It does, Your Honor.
Do you have anything this afternoon on my jail docket?
I do not, Judge. And that was actually, I assume all these cases on February 23rd are the morning, 9 a.m.?
That's correct. They're all at 9 a.m. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have today, Judge.
Yeah, I call my bail clients in the AM and I call my jail clients in the PM.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Steele. Appreciate your patience.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good day.
You too. We're going to give Mr. Gandy a moment. Looks like his device is connecting to audio. Mr. Gandy, there's going to be some type of audio button on your phone. I need you to turn your audio on. All right, you're getting closer. I'm going to help you here. I'm going to send a button to your screen. All right, Mr. Gandy, can you see and hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is CR 2120, State versus Stephen Paul Gandy. And Mr. Elliott is also appearing via Zoom. If you cannot see Mr. Elliott, you may have to move your screen to the left or right. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, and Mr. Elliott had already made some announcements to the court before you entered. The court was apprised that your spouse has tested positive for COVID. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you undergo a COVID test as well?
I did.
And that, have you gotten your results on that?
No, sir, I have not. I took it yesterday around lunchtime at CVS in Canton, and they told me it would be about 2 or 3 days. It's probably Friday or Saturday, sir.
Okay. All right, the court's going to reset Mr. Gandy's case for status on the pretrial release conditions on Thursday, January 28th. That would be 3 weeks from today. That should give us time, if you are positive, for you to be out of quarantine if that's the case. So you will report in person to the court on January 28th. Mr. Elliott, you can report via Zoom if you so wish.
Your Honor, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, something's wrong with this screen right now. I'm not sure what it is. If you can hear me, I have a hearing at 10 o'clock that morning in Henderson County. I will carry this device with me, other than right now it's kind of not working good, but I'll carry it with me. And if I can have the hearing on this, I'll inform Judge Williams that I'm going to have to take a break and come out and do this.
What is your hearing for at 10 o'clock in Henderson? Is it brief, or do you expect it to be long?
If we have it, it's going to be long. It's my understanding that he's trying to set up Zoom at this time also. So it may not. Oh, shoot. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, it's trying to cut off. Let me see if I can plug it.
Okay. Mr. Elliott, are you there? If I get your on screen, I'm gonna disconnect my telephone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, and I can see you better as well. Okay. The hearing on the hearing on the 28th with Judge Winters, or I'm sorry, Judge Williams.
Yes, it's a temporary orders, bill of review, potentially a modification of temporary orders. It's John Youngblood is on the other side. We discussed it yesterday. I don't anticipate our clients being agreeable. However, the Zoom situation in that court so far has not existed. So I'm not sure how ready it will be in the next 3 weeks. But if it is, I may be able to do both hearings from here. I would suspect that he would allow me a quick recess to come over here and make announcements if necessary. I don't anticipate there being any motions.
Let me ask you this. What if I set this, Mr. Gandy, for 1:30 that afternoon?
Yes, sir. Anytime, fine with me.
Well, I'm asking Mr. Elliott.
Oh.
I appreciate that, though.
It will at least give me an opportunity to let Judge Williams know. Surely he can let me have a little bit of time at 1:30.
Okay. I'm going to set then Mr. Gandy then for status on the pretrial release at 1:30 on January 28th. And Mr. Gandy, you will report to the courthouse on the 28th at 1:30.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Elliott, obviously, if you're in Henderson County, I will have the the availability for you to appear via Zoom and Mr. Gandy appear in court.
That'll work, Judge.
All right, Mr. Gandy, we'll see you back on January 28th at 1:30.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Judge.
you're free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your patience.
Yes.
Ms. Hughes.
She has attempted to provide a sample, but has not been able to.
I couldn't hear.
She said, do you want to, she said, do you, hang on. No, she didn't say that. Hang on just a second. Hang on just a second. Pause this one. Mute this one. Ms. Hughes is unable or has been unable to give a urine sample as requested by the court. Ms. Thompson has been gracious enough to sit here and wait. I'm going to give Ms. Hughes, it's 11:30. I'm going to give her 15 minutes, Ms. Thompson. And if she doesn't, then I may find her to be in violation of her pretrial release conditions. So I won't keep you more than that. I appreciate you waiting.
I don't have anything else to say.
You can stay here and enjoy the entertainment.
That's it.
Yeah, okay, yes, bring her out here and I'll tell her that she's got 15 minutes. Right there is fine, Ms. Hughes. Ms. Hughes, I'm gonna give you till 11, it's 11:33. I'm gonna give you till 11:48 to get a sample. If I don't have a sample by 11:48, I'm gonna find you in violation of your pretrial conditions, okay? So go back in there, drink a lot of water. Ms. Thompson's gonna stay here until that time, okay? That means you're gonna give me a urine sample in the next 15 minutes. Otherwise, I'm gonna consider it a non-test, a refusal to test, which would be in violation of your conditions, which may mean the court may revoke your bail and put you back in jail. Okay? So go back in there and do what you gotta do. All right, court will stand in recess until we get some kind of notification. this is CR 2216, State versus Jeannie K. Hughes. Miss Hughes, what's the status of the UA test?
I'm unable to go. I take medicine for overactive bladder, and I just can't go. I mean, it just keeps me from going.
All right, this is what we're going to do. Court is going to set Miss Hughes for docket call. You need another setting on docket call, Miss Thompson. I'm trying to remember what your.
Yes, we're trying to work something out with the assistant DA on this, and I think we will be able to. But yes, I'd ask for another docket call.
All right, court's going to set Miss Hughes for an additional docket call, and I'm not going to set it very long. I'm going to set it on January 28th. That's the court's contested docket day, so that's 3 weeks. All right, Miss Hughes, I'm going to continue my docket today at 1:30 at the Van Zandt County Jail. I'm going to give you until 1:30. So at 1:30, I want you to report out to the jail. And Miss Burns, are you going to be out there at the jail? Miss Burns is going to be out there. I want you to give a urine sample by 1:30.
Yes.
So you report out there and you see Miss Burns.
Yes.
Okay. If you don't show up at the jail at 1:30, when I get on this computer and start calling it, then it's not going to go well for you. Okay. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of grace right here and give you more time to go.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm gonna start court at 1:30. You be there. You see Miss Burns. She'll let me know if you're there or you're not there, and you're gonna give me a sample at 1:30.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Miss Thompson, you're not required to be there. If you want to be there or you want to zoom in, you're welcome to do that as well.
Okay.
And if you need the Zoom information, I can give it to you.
I do need this information on Friday.
Okay. All right, so that's going to conclude State. I'm not aware of any other cases that I have not handled today, and I believe that completes our morning docket. Yes, we'll call Roderick Hunter's name for an ISI. Other than that, State, you are free to go. We'll see you at 1:30.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, is State going to be on Zoom at the jail, or is anyone going to be at the jail?
Are you asking me here?
Judge, it's my anticipation that we will be on Zoom.
Okay, do we have any pleas that are going to require signatures or anything out there?
All right. Yes, Judge, we have, please, Mr. Carrier.
And Mr. Carrier may not be a plea today. We've gotten contacted by Ms. Beasley that he may be COVID or something. I don't know. I've told
That's right, Your Honor, I remember. Mr. Martinez, we anticipate that being a plea. Mr. Carmona, we have plea paperwork executed. However, I believe there will also be medical reasons he will need to reset that. And that's all I'm aware of, Judge.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get out there. All right. Thank you, State. We'll see you at 1:30.